We'd like to welcome everyone out to tonight's Planning and Zoning meeting. Our first item on the agenda is to see a video on how we run things here. We'd like to remind you about your cell phones, which I am one of them I need to remind myself of, to please put them on vibrate, airplane mode, turn off, whatever you'd like to do, as long as they don't ring. And also remind you that if you would like to speak to any given case, there are blue cards in the back of the room. Please fill one out and bring it forward. Once we discuss or have our consent agenda, which you find on the program with an asterisk next to the number, those will be voted on with one vote, and there will be no discussion after that vote is taken and approved. So if you would like to speak anything, please get the cards in right now while we're going through the video. Please, right into the back by the back doors. We want everyone to have an opportunity to speak to this. If you would please run the video.
Welcome to the City of Mesa Planning and Zoning Board meeting. We appreciate your interest in the future development of our community and welcome your comments. At this time, we ask you to turn off or select the vibrate option on your cell phones and pagers. Today's agenda includes a consent agenda. These items will be read into the record and acted on in one motion. If you would like to speak on any of these items, please fill out one of the blue cards located in the back of the room and bring it to the front railing. These items will then be removed from the consent agenda and voted on individually. Each case will be heard first by the applicant, then the public, followed by city staff and board members. The Planning and Zoning Board will then make their recommendations to the City Council. The City Council meetings are held twice a month at 5:45 p.m. in the Council chambers. To find out when the City Council will consider your planning and zoning item, please call the Planning Division at 480-644-2385 or log on to the city's website. All planning and zoning meetings are broadcast live and rebroadcast on Mesa Channel 11. To view the programming schedule, log on to www.mesachannel11.com.
Have you all turned in your blue cards yet?
We're trying to find a zoning case number in the thing that we got.
Most of you are probably here for item D4, which is the 7100 and 7200 blocks of East McDowell Road. So that would be the number that you would put into that blank.
C13-9.
T4?
Z like in zebra.
Z4, thank you.
013-09, or you could put D4 is fine. While you all are doing that, our first item of business is to approve the minutes from the January 15th study session and the January 16th regular hearing. Well, first we need to say that Mr. Arnett and Ms. Huston are not with us today and are absent. Also, I forgot, we have within us a celebrity. I promised I wouldn't do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Beth Coombs is our Mesa Woman of the Year, and we're glad to have her on our board.
Thank you.
Now she'll kill me later or put the air out of my tires. All right. Do I hear a motion on the minutes?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Thank you. Do I have a second? All right. Please cast your votes. Unanimous with Mr. Arnett and Ms. Hudson absent, and that will be the last time I mention their names at this meeting. All right. Are you all finished with the blue cards yet? We're getting ready for the consent agenda.
Not yet.
Okay.
For that other case, we can go on with it.
You don't have to be very wordy because you will be speaking right up here at this podium. There is a space to mark if you would like to speak to this case or not, and whether you want to approve it or not. So if you don't want to speak, please mark the other boxes. Okay, we have a first blue card that takes it off the consent agenda.
It's not on the consent agenda.
That's right, okay. Let's move forward with our consent agenda. D4 is officially off the consent agenda.
Oh, okay, but it's the same case, right?
Yes.
It's 08 is the residential, the north, it's, they continue to march. but some of
Okay.
them- some of them said they don't want to speak
All
about
right.
that, so they- for that one, but it's agenda number, vote.
Let's see. Which one is that? We need to pull D3 off the consent agenda. Ms. Johnson will do us the favor, please, of reading the consent agenda, or the first consent agenda.
Okay, the first consent agenda starts with Z1301, District 6, 1411 South Power Road, located south of Southern Avenue on the east side of Power Road, approximately 1 acres. Site plan modification. This request will allow development of a restaurant within a group commercial center in the LCPAD zoning district. Rare Hospitality Management owner. And it's approval with conditions. D1 is case Z1250, District 3, 146 West Baseline Road, located east of Country Club Drive on the north side of Baseline Road, approximately 1 acre, District 3, modification of an existing council use permit and site plan modification. This request will allow development of a restaurant with a drive-through with an existing commercial center in an LICUP zoning district. McDonald's USA owner. The staff recommendation is continuance to March 20, 2013. Next item is Z1304, District 5, 5656 East Albany Street, located north of Main Street and west of Recker Road, approximately 30 acres, District 5. And this case is withdrawn. And that would be all of the first consent agenda.
We're still sorting through the cards. Sorry.
Okay, is that, yes.
All right, line 3 is 15. Okay. So this consent agenda consists of item D1 and D2, correct, Suzanne?
And C1.
And C1. All right. Ms. Johnson has read the consent agenda. Do I have a motion for approval?
A motion that we approve the consent agenda is read.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, please cast your votes. Consent agenda passes unanimously. What we'd like to do at this next one, if you'll notice on your agenda, we have a...
Are you going to go to this one?
Can we hold off on that
Yeah,
one?
these two will go together.
Yeah, those two go together. Let's get the GP minor out of the way. On E1, we're going to skip to E1 here, GP minor, and E3 and G1. So we're going to do a short meeting on that. First thing, we're going to open up a public meeting for GP minor 1301. Is there anyone that likes to speak to that
You have
item?
For O2, I mean for E2.
Just for the GP minor. Okay, let's close the public meeting on that. We do have one card for E2, which would be Z13-10. Is that correct?
That would be Donald.
Okay, it was not for D4. It is for E2. Okay. Ms. Johnson, we need to remove item number 2 from this consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
I would
sir.
suggest you go ahead and read that item in and hear that discussion, then you can go back and potentially
Okay.
consider the items together.
All right, well, let's move to, where's our card?
Right here.
All right,
I'll make these.
thank you. Let's do a short discussion on Z13-10, District 5. the 1200 through 1300 blocks of North Crispin Road, east side, located north of Brown Road on the east side of Crispin Road. We have one card from a Mr. Donald Pendergast, I believe. If you would come forward, please, and state your name and address, and let us know your views.
My name is Donald L. Pendergraft, and our home address is 1309 North Amandes. And our concern originally with this was it was going to increase the amount of traffic on Crisman Road. And already we are bothered by the traffic that is on that Crisman Road. And we just felt concerned about the increase of 14 more homes, that it would be more troublesome to us, because our home backs right up to Crisman Road. Well, we just found out that they're all single story, so our second concern. Oh, you have to request singles.
He's not for sure. The ladies, Lindsay said we could put in a request for all single homes, so it won't block the mountain views that we have right now.
That was another concern of ours, was if they built two-story homes, we'd lose our view of mountains. And yeah, that was our two main concerns, was that traffic and the view.
All right, thank you. We appreciate your coming down here and expressing your views on this.
Thank you. Oh, and you forgot to mention we're in Whisper View, which is right.
Yeah, Whisper View is the development we're in.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Pendergast.
Thank you.
We kind of went crosswise on this. We really should have had a small intro by staff on this. Why don't you go ahead, and then we would like the applicant to please address the issues.
And thank you, Chairman Carter and board members. Okay, Lahara Estates is the request. It is there are several applications associated with it. The general plan amendment and the rezoning are companion cases, and they've come forward with what was a 14-lot subdivision in the county. That was initially started development several years ago. They never completed that subdivision. They installed a sewer line and dry utilities, a water line and dry utilities, and we're going to do septic. After several years of lying dormant, they wanted to move forward with development, and unfortunately were denied septic permits, so they were required to annex into the city to get city sewer services as well as other services. And as part of that process, they have requested to increase the density to make the project work. Staff was tasked with reviewing it, ensure compatibility with adjacent land uses, as well as the design of the subdivision. The pre-plat is a part of the rezoning case. I understood there were two concerns with the neighbors that did come through with us. We don't have a condition on the case that we've included for maximum height of 1 story. It was indicated by the builder that they would be limiting construction to 1 story as an agreement between themselves and the neighbors per their neighborhood meeting. To kind of continue on, the land use proposed is to increase density from 0 to 1 to 1 to 2 dwelling units per acre with an associated rezoning case of RS 15 PAD for a maximum density proposed of 1.8 units per acre. On the north side of the development is the Signal Butte floodway. On the south side is the LDS Stake. On the west side is Crisman Road, and development across Crisman Road is 1 to 2 dwelling units per acre. So those 3 sides we generally feel are compatible. And on the east side are large Lake County residences. And that said, the staff has recommended approval with several conditions.
All right. Thank you very much. Could the applicant please come forward, state your name and address?
Absolutely. Lindsay Shuby with Buse Gilbert. We've just moved 701 North 44th Street is our new address, Phoenix, Arizona. We did have Jason gave a great overview of the project. The reason why we're here, we were approved for 14 lots in the county. It was final platted, it was graded, all ready to go, and then found out we needed to connect to the sewer. I think it's a great overall environmental improvement for all of us. So in order to do that, we had to add 14 lots. It comes out to a little under 2 units an acre. If you see in the staff report, it's 1.8 units an acre. We did agree to additional amenities. We've got some turf in our drainage area. We've got some benches. I think it'll be a beautiful addition to the area. The Pendergasts did not attend the neighborhood meeting, but one thing that we agreed to in the neighborhood meeting was to a single-story homes in the entire development. They said they feel more comfortable when something's in writing. I wonder if one of them are in law, because that's normally what us lawyers like to do. We can add a stipulation if that would make everyone feel more comfortable in the Planning Commission, that we agree to single-story homes. It's Evelyn Peterson, and VIP has already agreed to that. So if that's something that would make everyone feel more comfortable moving forward.
So which case, of the 4 that we have here relating to this, which case would add the stipulation on that?
Board Member Coons, that would be a case Z13-11, number E3.
Okay.
And you will get the exact wording that says the homes will be single-story.
And we agree to that. Sure.
You agree to that?
Yes, absolutely.
And all of this has gone through the traffic and all the studies, and according to what I've read, it was all verified that way.
We didn't have a traffic study, but normally the addition of 28 homes is not, we were platted for 14. We did go through some of those studies in the county. It'll be a beautiful, compatible development with the neighbor. It's the same developer as the Pendergasts have next door. They're a semi-custom builder, so it's an addition of 28 homes.
Okay.
Mr. Wesley, I do believe, as a matter of recourse, while the plans are going through the system, these are automatically routed through transportation, streets and roads, engineering, and they've all had their opportunity to speak to any concerns they may have about traffic or et cetera. If they had concerns and they could request this, have there been any statements by any of those engineering, transportation, or any of that group that have expressed any kind of problem with the number of houses, traffic might be generated, et cetera?
Mr. Carter, you're correct. Part of the normal review process does send this out to several departments to get their review and input. And you're also correct that as we've looked at this, Chrisman Road is an arterial street. It's planned to carry a fairly high volume of traffic. Adding 28 homes to this did not raise any concerns about the traffic volume. From that overall operational perspective, we can understand from a resident's perspective that lives there, and to see that increase, they may feel a little bit of that difference. But in terms of the street's ability to handle the traffic, no, it's well under the traffic volumes that could go.
I have not been on North Chrisman in some time. Is it a 4-lane or a 6-lane? What is the right-of-way on there? I don't remember looking at the drawing. 65 or a 75?
I believe it's a 4-lane, but
okay.
I haven't looked at it that closely, but I believe that's correct.
All right, well, that should handle the additional number of residences on there. All right, thank you very much. Are there any items that the board would like to discuss with Mr. Pendergast, our applicant, or the staff?
My only comment was going to be to put some sort of a condition on the single story to get it in writing, but that's obviously been taken care of.
So my other question is, can we do this a consent agenda with all 4 of these, or should we take a separate vote and add that stipulation?
Probably the cleanest thing would be to just go ahead and do each one individually, since we have that step to add. Then you can add it when you get there.
All right, well, if that being the case, and to move this along so you all don't have to wait too long, let's consider I hate getting old. It's not fun, as some of you probably know. I need a motion, number 1, for a GP minor, 13-01, item E1.
I'll make a motion for adoption.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, please cast your votes. That item passes unanimously. We'll now go to item E2 Z13-10. Do I have a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, please cast your votes. Okay, passes unanimously. We will now consider E3 Z13-11. Do I have a motion?
I'll move for approval with the additional stipulation that homes will be single-story.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Do you accept the
Yes.
stipulation? All right, please cast your votes. Unanimous approval. Our final item for this is G1. It's the preliminary plat for La Jara Estates. Do I have a motion?
I'll move for approval.
I'll
Do I have a
second.
second? Please cast your votes. Passes unanimously. All right, thank you for being patient with us. We'll now consider item D4, Z13-09.
Remember, we have to do 3 and
Oh, that's right. Thank you very much, Ms. Coombs. We will first start with Z13-08, which is D3. Actually, it would be, is it possible, can we put them together? We're going to consider D3 and D4 at the same time. So Z13-08 and Z13-09. Staff, you're up first.
And thank you, Chairman Carter and board members. If you don't mind, I can start with referring to case C13-08. And just to clarify this request, that we actually have a single parcel, parcel 51, within the Los Sendas PAD. We currently have 2 cases pending, 2 requests pending on that parcel for different portions of that parcel. Z13-08, and I appreciate there's certainly a number of residents here, and staff has received a number of inquiries, emails, voicemails, phone calls, texts. In regards to this, there is a request for continuance by the applicant on the residential portion. They are requesting continuance to the March 20th agenda. I don't have a staff report prepared for the residential portion. In fact, I don't have revised plans for that just yet. So if we can, I would, staff is recommending continuance so that we can discuss that and evaluate that further.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any citizens in our thing here?
several that want to speak.
All right. Everybody understands that the Z13-08 is being continued to next month's meeting. Okay. We'll now hear from Reese, brother, Mr. Anderson. If you could come up and
Mr. Chairman, members of the board,
us.
hello. Mr. Chairman, is your question about Z0308?
No, we're moving on.
Okay.
They're both considered together. Because
On Z0308, if I might, Mr. Chairman, Ryland Homes has asked me to represent them. And as that case is on for continuance, I would humbly suggest that you consider them separately and just get that continuance out of the way so that we can focus cleanly on Z0309. It would just be my recommendation. If not, I think procedurally you're back to staff making its presentation on case 09 and then the applicant next.
Thanks, Mr. Anderson. We have a little bit of confusion. I would like to clarify if Chris Treadler.
Because you're continuing, I don't know.
Wait for the next case.
Okay.
Okay.
Mike and Kathy Stefanik. Would you wait until the next one, or do you wish to speak to this particular case?
We wish to speak to both of them.
All right.
They need to
All right. And
He's
so
waiting for the next one.
all three are.
No, they want to speak.
You want to speak to this case now, or would you like to? We're really considering both of these.
Well, this one's a continuance.
Right.
We want to speak
This
to
vote,
that
if we vote on this right now, is just continuing Z 13-08 till next month. Do you wish to speak? Mr. Anderson?
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, the request before you and the issue before you is whether or not to continue. It's not the merits of the case. Thank you.
Yes. Do you wish to speak about the continuance?
Sure.
Mr. Tremley.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, maybe because I think there was a little bit of confusion, and I spoke to Jason about this, around there's a bunch of flyers sent around the community. So maybe it might be beneficial, Mr. Chairman, to have the folks that came to speak about the residential issue to talk about it, even though we know the staff case hasn't been presented yet, so there might be some bias, at least getting the feedback documented, so that way the folks don't have to come back again and state the same case on the same issue. I don't know if that's procedurally okay, but that would be my recommendation.
Mr. Trendler, there's only 3 people that have asked to speak to this. You're one.
Okay.
And the Stephanics are the other 2 to this case. I think we can take
Yes, if you'd like to speak to
testimony.
it, it'd be fine.
Okay, so I've talked to Jason, but frankly, I'm here just observing to see if there's anything comes up that I could speak of. The case I presented, I called Jason. He was very helpful. Go ahead.
You need to state your name and address.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Start.
Chris Trendler, address 6819 East Pearl Street in Mesa, Arizona, in the Los Angeles community. My only concern around the development was there's a series of homes that are bordering the proposed residential development. Everywhere else, at least in the north side of Los Angeles, has a 10 to 20 foot, I can't remember, tract that divides the backyards of each individual homes. The proposed plat that we received did not include that tract. So in other words, backyards would be abutted against each other. There wouldn't be the space like everywhere else in Los Angeles. My only concern and my request would there be some sort of spacing between the backyard of those homes that will border up the new homes that are proposed to be developed.
Okay, duly noted.
Thanks.
And
All right.
because we haven't really seen the case, we don't know what's on.
We have
Yeah.
we have no information on this case at all.
Just noted.
Okay.
Thank you.
Kathy Stefanik, am I close? Would you like to speak to the continuance or anything about the that residential area?
Yeah, I guess.
Please understand that we don't have any information that you all have seen at this point.
Okay. So I can still talk on both parts, right?
If you would just limit it to this, the residential portion
Okay.
in regards to the continuance.
Okay, and I can come back and talk
Yes,
about the other. Oh,
absolutely.
okay, that's what I was wondering. So, yeah, I'm really concerned about having 161 more homes added in that small of a space. Apparently well, he said Ryland, and I did check, and Trend Homes was bought by Ryland, apparently. And so they're only going to build on the north piece of that lot. And so that's pretty dense. And in talking to the principal at Los Angeles Elementary, he said that if the school's already at capacity, and if you change if you add all that density, then they may have to change their school boundaries. And then also, that man, I forgot his name.
Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, he said that they're not going to put the street out to McDowell. They want to put all of their traffic, their construction, everything onto Ridgecrest and Red Mountain. And I live in Silverhawk, which is right across the street. And at 7:30 in the morning, we can't get out of our gate. There's so much traffic from the school. And if they put all their construction traffic on there, and there's little children that like ride their bikes and walk to school because it's an elementary, I'm very concerned about that. So that's mainly about the first part.
Thank you. Hey, how do you pronounce your last name? Stefanik. Mr. Stefanik, if you would come, please state your name and address.
Okay, Mike Stefanik, 7514 East Oasis Circle, Mesa, 85207. And in addition, what the gentleman had talked about as far as the actual buffer itself, and writing on additionally what my wife has said, I'm extremely concerned about the amount of density that's going to be put into that north section, okay? And in typical fashion, how Ryland and Trend Homes, I'm extremely familiar with them. I have come from the residential construction industry, okay? I was one of the largest electrical contractors in the valley at one time, so I know how they do it. Extremely dense production-style homes, and from what we can tell, and from just based upon my understanding of the project, is that the homes themselves are not going to fit into the overall character of Los Angeles as it is right now. It's going to change the character of our neighborhood. We're not interested in having the character of our Los Angeles neighborhood changed whatsoever, okay? That's number one. We want the same style of the homes. We want the same type of buffers. We want the same type of open spaces that we currently have. If they're going to be part of Los Angeles, if they're going to be billed as I believe it's Desert Creek at Lascendis. They're writing off the Lascendis name, okay, as far as I'm concerned. They're riding the coattails to what Jeff Blanford did. We're not interested in that. We're interested in, if they want to be part of the community, they want to build on that particular lot 51, or parcel 51, then be part of the community, join the HOA, have your residents as part of our HOA. We're interested in that. Reduce your density, more open space, more buffer, and reroute your traffic. If you're not going to be part of our HOA, reroute your traffic onto McDowell. We are not at all interested in having their traffic come out onto Ridgecrest and or Red Mountain. Not at all. And then for years, we are going to have to be enduring, okay, construction traffic going on, okay, on that north side there. Then all the additional introduction of residents in there that are going to be adjacent to our Lascendis facilities. They're going to be using our Lascendis facilities without paying for them. We are absolutely opposed to it. There are thousands of people in the community. There's been a flyer going around. They're absolutely, completely opposed to this project. A sleeping giant has been awoken here. Okay, trust me. It's not going to be pretty. Okay? It's not going to be good. And as far as I can see, for right now, just when I'm out there driving by looking at it, I'm thinking to myself, noise ordinances, dust permits, Maricopa County dust violations. There's a whole range of issues that potentially could come up on complaints. Trust me on that. We know how this thing goes. So we're asking for them, if they want to be part of the community, if you represent Ryland Homes, you want to be part of the community, be part of the community, have the buffers, have the same characteristics, same type of developments that we have. Across the street on the south side, they did so. From what we're seeing here, they're not. They're trying to squeeze as many homes in as possible to maximize profits, okay? Trying to dump residents out onto our streets, okay? We're not going to buy that. It's not going to happen. And the other part of it is, I guess, on the Talon properties, which I can speak to on the other, when we go through the other one, right?
Please, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I want to make sure we don't have any information on plats or density or anything. That's not been brought to us, and there will be neighborhood meetings where you can get real information rather than just flyers, because we don't have that yet, and we're not dealing with that tonight. But I appreciate their comments and hope they've been noted on that.
We would hope that next month that when we hear this case, that you all would have some research done on those particular issues. Right now, we are talking about the continuance of that particular case. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to continue case Z1308 to March 20th, 2013.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, please cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Z13-08 will be heard next month. All right, our next item of business.
I filled out a card. I asked to speak and nobody responded to that.
On that particular issue.
Yeah.
We haven't gone to the next one yet. That was just concerning the residential development. We're now going to talk about the commercial development.
Well, that's what I was hoping to talk about, the residential.
Okay, what's his name?
And
What's your
I've
name,
known
sir?
For a long time, because this man did a great job doing it.
Please come up to the podium, state your name and address, and do give us your views. We have a wrong number on the card. We're sorry.
I wrote down what you told me to write down. My name is John Parker. My address is 7412 East Sandia Circle. I live in Lascendis. The man that just spoke did a great job. The only thing I wanted to say is I appreciate the fact that you're all here, because you are our protection for something that is happening like this that we feel as a community. And I'm far, like he said, I'm far from the only one. This isn't even close to appropriate. So I just wanted to come up and thank you for protecting us,
Mr. Parker.
offering us the ability to speak and to make this closer to fitting into the neighborhood. The rest of it, I'd just be repeating what he said, and so I don't want to do that.
Mr. Anderson, you are going to be representing this Ryland Homes, so there will be community meetings concerning this. go to those to get.
Oh, I will.
Get the appropriate information, because right now, I don't know that the plating has even been circulated that they're planning on. But Mr. Anderson right here would have the information, and so you can get that real information.
The reason we all responded so strongly is we did get an email from the HOA, and it said 119 townhomes, and we all went, what? Are you kidding me? So that was kind of,
But
anyway.
sir, those have been approved for 3 years.
Would you mind if I add something, please?
We're
I'm
through
sorry,
on
we
this
are
case.
through on, we would appreciate it if you would show up next month and address this when it comes before.
Okay.
It would be the easiest thing to do. We do appreciate your input, we really do.
Well, one of the things is that I want to add this. Okay, I realize
We'll get to speak on the next one.
but the number of residents that don't have any idea what's going on there, what has already been approved previously, it is outstanding. Okay, it's amazing. You've talked to hundreds of people. Nobody knows what's happening. Okay? They didn't know that there was something already approved. They don't know anything. When they find this out, they're shocked.
That's why there are neighborhood meetings, so I hope you'll let people know when they have them. You wanted to speak to this too? Can you give us your name? Selena Hansen.
You'll understand that we do not have any information on this at all. We're kind of going out on a limb procedurally, and I'm surprised our loyal person has not.
I appreciate that. My husband was actually supposed to be here, so I'm kind of winging this. My name is Selena Hansen. I'm at 3055 North Red Mountain in Mesa 85207. I live right on the corner of Ridgecrest and Red Mountain, and the traffic there is horrendous. We just recently moved into the neighborhood within the last 9 months, and we just moved from a trend neighborhood who has these 3-story style houses that they are proposing to put in this area. And we moved out of that neighborhood for that specific reason, because it's high density in traffic. They're parked everywhere. They don't follow the HOA rules. And if they're not even going to be a part of the Las Endas HOA, we moved to Las Endas for a reason. And we are not interested in having this in our community. It's just not, it's a lot of traffic, it's a lot of headache, it's lower income housing. When my husband and I were starting out as a new couple, that was what we could afford, so we understand that there's a need for that. But we also understand that it brings a lot of other riffraff and things that go along with it. My husband's other concern, being in law enforcement, is with all of these people that you're adding to the neighborhood, what is going to be added as far as city services? I'm sure that's something that will probably be spoken to in the community meetings, and we'll be interested to hear that. But fire, police, we have a hard enough time with just trying to get law enforcement to enforce speeding rules, let alone adding a bunch of more people and trying to get adequate law enforcement in the area as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please attend all of your community meetings. It's not necessarily true what you get on flyers. Right. So, Mr. Anderson there, if you'll go to any meeting that he's at, he has to give you the straight up of what's going on.
Will we be informed of that through emails from the HOA? So we'll all know about that when there's a meeting?
Mr. Anderson, please come to the podium.
Mr. Chairman, if I could address the questions from the audience, which I believe was, will we know? I was doing my best to write names and addresses down as I heard people speak today, and we're happy to add those people to our mailing list. If you want to leave me your name and number on a piece of paper or on a notepad before we leave today, we will add you to our mailing list. With our previous neighborhood meetings, we went out to 1,000 feet as required. We went out to a half mile for all the registered neighborhoods. And where we can, we try to square up neighborhoods so that someone right across the street from you doesn't get a letter that you would get. In addition, that notice that we sent went to the HOA, and Mr. Doug Osman, the community director, I hope I got his title right, told me that he emailed it to the 2,500 people they have on their email distribution list. So we feel confident that we followed the rules and went above and beyond. We'll do the same again for any follow-up meetings. I hope that answers your question.
Mr. Anderson, do you have any thoughts about a projected neighborhood meeting that might take place before the next scheduled P&Z meeting?
I'm hopeful that we'll do that in mid-March.
So
right
about
around there, yeah. We're going to have to balance against spring break week and see what's happening then. But we'll definitely do it in March.
But if anybody here would leave you their name
Happy to add them to
and
the list.
email or
Absolutely.
physical address, you'd get it to them.
Yeah, I'm happy to address even some of the concerns raised today so the board knows. Just real quickly, for example, when we met with Mr. Austin, we said in our neighborhood meeting, and we expressed to him in our in-person meeting, that we would like to join the HOA. That takes a vote of the board. Now I understand on the flyer that a lot of the residents have received that are here today says that we are not. I apologize, but that's misinformation they're getting from someone. We want to, we're happy to, we think it's the right thing to do to be part of the Los Andes HOA. So those type of things we look forward to answering at our second meeting, and if you have questions about it, we're happy to answer those questions for you also.
We'd love to hear about this next month.
Thank you.
I think it should be noted that the email we all got earlier at the end of last week, the subject was marathon run date changed. That was the subject. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, then you find out about all this other stuff.
Sir, we have no control over what your homeowners association sent you.
Mr. Chairman, the email that the HOA would have sent out would have been, again, I'm reporting only what Mr. Austin told me, but it would have been a week and a half or so before our neighborhood meeting, which was, I believe, January 22nd. So,
okay, well, everyone, you've heard. Look forward to a neighborhood meeting coming up somewhere around mid-March. So watch your calendars and your emails. Now, we would like to turn our attentions to case number Z13-09, 7100 and 7200 blocks of East McDowell Road, located on the east of Power Road on the north side of McDowell, approximately 12 acres. We would, it's item, yeah, thank you, D4. First of all, we would like to hear a synopsis by our staff.
Thank you, Chairman Carter and
Then,
board members.
before we go, then we would like to hear Mr. Anderson, and then we will open it up for public statement based on the blue cards that we have. And then we will be going back to staff and Mr. Anderson for any rebuttal that might need to happen. Sir.
Thank you, Chairman Carter and board members. All right, so the case Z13-009, to clarify for everybody here, is a request to amend the prior approval for the site, which is completed in 2008. That would be case Z07-074. Specifically, the request is to amend a portion of parcel 51, specifically the commercial retail site. The history on this parcel is that it is a part of the Los Andes PAD. It originally had been designated on the general plan as a business park, but about 5 years ago, a case came forward where the owner wished to do something a bit different than business park, and subsequently went through an extensive process, and Reese was also representing them at that time, to consolidate the business park office portion to a corner of the site, which is not a part of the request tonight. That's located directly adjacent to the freeway north of McDowell Road. In addition to that, the parcel was really done more so as a mixed-use, fully integrated, walkable type site. We exchanged the business park designation in return for multifamily housing, which there's already 180 condo units approved for the north side of the site, which was the subject of discussion earlier. It is not the subject of this case today. In the middle of the site was a boutique hotel. And the portion that's really being addressed tonight is the commercial retail portion, which more so lies at the immediate northwest corner of Ridgecrest and McDowell. So, as part of that approval, the Berkus Design Group submitted several graphical illustrations of the site plan to indicate a high level of quality with the development, showing its mixed-use nature and its emphasis on being part of the desert uplands design guidelines. There's desert landscaping, and there was a significant wash and drainage channel that curved through the middle of the site. And if staff wouldn't mind, if we could put the site plan on the Elmo, if you would mind. If we could pull the site plan from the staff report, Z1309, and put it on the Elmo, that would be great. The drainage channel traverses the middle of the site and divides it into two, with multiple small pad sites nestled up against it to create kind of an intimate desert environment where you may have retail shops and restaurants or office uses, all nestled together around the wash to create kind of a walking village environment, as stated in their own narrative from that zoning approval. Since that time, the site has not developed. It still remains approved as such on the books. As well, there's an associated development agreement that discusses many of these same ideas of construction phasing and design quality, etc. So the applicant has come forward with a request to amend that prior approval in two ways. One would be to take the actual drainage channel itself, which is currently not improved yet, but actually just lies along McDowell Road in a somewhat temporary, non-original desert wash fashion. It's just a channel flows of Los Sendas to the ADOT basin to the west. They're seeking to take the drainage channel, as opposed to running it through the middle of the site, keep it along McDowell Road and put it underground. It's represented a bit of a design challenge and expense in the absence of a master developer. They also need to box culvert that flow underneath the collector road. As you can see there, and within that, this is the parcel 51 site plan that was approved back in 2008. And if you see, and within that circle, you're going to see that curvilinear white swath. That is the desert amenities / drainage channel wash that runs through the site with the pad sites up against it. They'd like to take the actual flows and run it down south along McDowell Road and underground and maintain in its place another sort of amenity that's somewhat to be determined. There's another site plan, if you can show the next page of the report. You'll see that the alignment of the collector road and the distribution of land uses remains unchanged. We're not changing zoning district boundaries. We're not proposing new pad sites or fewer pad sites. All of the pad sites remain exactly the same. We simply have a desert amenity in the middle of the site with the drainage channel underground to the south. We would work with the applicant in future applications for site plan, and then of course the design review board would look at several applications associated with the future development to ensure that the quality of the zoning approval is represented in those applications. The second part of this request is specifically addressing the collector road that traverses the site in the same location as approved in the prior zoning case. In that case, it was a modified collector of 60 feet wide as opposed to 80 feet wide with the landscape medians. Since that time, as we've taken a closer look at that collector alignment, as you can see there, you can see there's several turns in it. There's two roundabouts, medians all along its path. It does, as approved before and as requested today, the access points remain unchanged. The collector since 2007 has always taken access to Red Mountain, Ridgecrest, and McDowell in those exact locations. All we're discussing tonight is whether or not the board would support replacing the median landscaping with paving treatments, which is subject to review for site visibility requirements and the turning radii on its curves for public safety. They are requesting, as opposed to having a private street do that, that it be a public street. There are certain advantages to having a private street where we can perhaps add landscaping in places that we wouldn't otherwise accept as a public street. We're working through the review process now with our engineering team and our traffic engineer to get the final design for that through the process. You'll note there is a condition that addresses this. We want to ensure that the quality of the development stays as it was or improves. So until we get the final design and we've reviewed it for that quality, and engineering, transportation, and planning all approve it, we won't accept dedication of the roadway. And if it doesn't come to the standards that we are looking for, then we won't accept it. It will remain as a private street so that we can do what we need to do to ensure that the quality represented in the zoning case is actually built. Again, I'd just like to reiterate that the office portion isn't a subject of tonight, nor is the residential or the hotel. It's just the commercial piece related to the drainage channel and the collector street section.
Thank you very much. We'd like to hear from Mr. Anderson next as the owner's representative.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for your record, my name is Reese Anderson. My address is 1744 South Val Vista, number 217 here in Mesa. I'm a zoning attorney with the law firm of Pugh & Lake, and once again, it's a pleasure to be with you this evening. I've just prepared a very short PowerPoint presentation, and I want to thank Mr. Sanks for his well-done and succinct staff report to you, and I don't want to repeat some of those same points. What I'm showing you on the site plan or on the screen right now is the approved site plan from 2008. And I wish I could point on to it, but Mr. Stanks did a good job. The request to you tonight specifically is for a site plan modification. And what we're doing is taking an open drainage channel that came through the site. This exists out there today in somewhat of a meandering fashion along McDowell Road. It collects off-site stormwater flows from Las Sendas and then directs them across this site to the ADOT retention basin on our west side. As part of this site plan, what we propose to do is to put it into a box culvert and run it right underneath what you can see there is the drive aisle near McDowell Road. And then we would replace this open channel, which honestly would have water in it only in the most severe storms. And it would be, I think of it more as a passive landscape area. We would replace it with an active landscape area where you could have trails, other plantings. You could even do a kind of a pseudo wash through there. But those type of details will come back to you for final site plan approval with the rest of Parcel B. This is the proposed site plan today, and you can see there, again, none of the buildings have changed. None of the layout of the road has changed. None of this landscaping area has changed. It's remained exactly the same. I took this one, and I know the quality is diminished a little bit, but I just colored it to show you so your eye could pick up easily what the two things we're talking about here tonight are, just the area in green and the area in blue. Mr. Chairman, I know that there are several people here in the audience that have submitted cards. And I'd be happy if you're willing to let me have some rebuttal time to address any concerns they have about this. With that, Mr. Chairman, our request is very simple and straightforward. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you or other members of the board may have.
I have a question.
Ms. Goons?
I want to make sure that the green area on this last, it was going to be the wash that the water would run through, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, there's a stormwater drainage conveyance channel.
Okay, so that will be exactly the same, but maybe better you're proposing.
Yes, ma'am. So with the original plan, this had gabion walls, which if you know what those are, they're kind of rocks encased in chicken wire or a larger type wire. And those can look very nice. They can also just be a place here where there would be crossings over, but I would anticipate that you would have debris and weeds and some styrofoam cups would gather in it, and you would always have a maintenance issue. Today, as I picture it in my mind, with a landscaped area that's regularly maintained, regularly used, it could be a jogging path, etc., a much more active and enjoyable area than just an open channel that honestly wouldn't have water in it except for a few times a year.
So it would not be changed the amount of land that is...
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Those dimensions have been met precisely.
Okay. All right, that's...
Mr. DeBella?
Yeah, Mr. Maybe directed towards staff, but just so I understand in my head, the 2008 site plan is approved pending perhaps building design review stuff that would have occurred or needs to occur. That site plan is approved, and they could come through with that development parcel by parcel and achieve whatever that site plan suggests.
Chairman Carter and Board Member DeVella, yes, that's correct. The approved site plan is still in the books. It could be built as already approved. And this is an applicant-driven request to make 2 modifications.
Mr. Chairman, I might add, too, just for your knowledge, and also just to help our neighbors understand that not only in 2008 was the site plan approved, but in 2009 design review was approved on the entire site, including the residential and commercial buildings.
Right. Any other board members have comments from Mr. Anderson? Then we'd like to request our public to address us.
She put this number, but she just spoke. I don't know if she...
Ms. Hanson? Okay, there you go. Well, then we'll start with, now, forgive me, I butcher names really bad. So correct me if I really do a bad job. Our first speaker will be Diane Tarantino. Am I even close? All right. You have 3 minutes.
Oh, thank you. Diane Tarantino, 7465 East Oasis Circle, Mesa 85207. I'm also in the Silverhawk subdivision, which is the first subdivision entering at Ridgecrest and McDowell. The traffic on Ridgecrest is horrible. There's a lot of speeding on Ridgecrest. Children need to cross that street so that they can get to school. It's very dangerous. I'm also concerned about the schools having to be redistricted due to the density of more homes coming in. That's already been, the Stefanics already addressed that, but there are more people here who are concerned about that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Our next person we'd like to call up is Mr. Curtis Barber. If you would state your name and address, please.
I'm Curtis Barber, 7454 East Oasis Circle, Mesa, Arizona. Also in the neighborhood directly across on Ridgecrest. 2 school-aged children that do use the crosswalk and stuff there. My wife works there at the school. Lots of stories as far as issues with, specifically to the collector roads there, being on Red Mountain and Ridgecrest. The traffic there is bad, high traffic flow, especially during work hours, which unfortunately is the same time children are trying to go to school. Numerous issues of crossing guards and traffic continuing on, even when they're trying to help kids out, the way that it is now. We put in collector roads there that's going to carry that traffic in that area. We're going to have more problems with traffic control. And they're obviously not just going to be getting out to McDowell. They may have to go the other way so that they can get over to the 202. So it's going to be in multiple directions. The crosswalks directly across from the school would have to also carry that traffic, which is going to make it more dangerous. So that's the biggest concerns that I have.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. I know I'm going to mess this one up. Miss Mary Woeifel.
My name is Mary Wellfell. I live at 6952 East Red Hawk Circle in Las Endas, Mesa, 85207. And I am extremely concerned about the traffic. I live off of Red Mountain, and my daughter lives off of Red Mountain. We live in 2 opposite subdivisions, and you can't even get down that street from 7 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock in the morning when the kids are going to school. I walk to the park because I can't drive to the park because of the traffic. And then when you make a right-hand turn there onto Ridgecrest, you can hardly even get onto that street because of the traffic. There's 2 ways in and out, one way in and one way out of Las Endas. And Ridgecrest is one of the main areas. And Thomas, which is the other way and comes up to Eagle Crest. So I don't know how you're going to accommodate 300 plus more cars in that area. Has there been a traffic study done on this improvement?
Staff? I might say this, that right now the piece that you're looking at in the upper screen is approved. And so the number of units that are approved are equal to or less than what's being planned in the future. Is that correct?
But that's not my question. My question is, can these roads accommodate that many cars? Has there been a traffic study done by the city of Mesa?
Where I was going is, I believe in 2008, there was a traffic study done by the applicant upon before approval of the project with City Council, and I believe it was found that the road design as you see it as exists right now in that upper screen was approved by City Council based on that.
There's been more homes added in Las Endas since
There are almost
then.
5 years in between then and now, 2008, and now we're in 2013.
I think a traffic study is in order.
I think that should probably be part of when we have a residential piece we're talking about or other things we're talking about. Right now, all we're talking about is this roadway and the green belt, or green belt's not the right word, but the green piece. Am I correct?
Yes. So, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, back in 2008, there was extensive discussion about the traffic and the impacts. I don't recall right now for sure whether an actual traffic study was done, but certainly the city's traffic engineer looked at it very closely. Today, we are talking about relocating the drainage channel and whether the internal street will be public or private and some of the design amenities that go with that street. Those items will have no impact one way or the other on the traffic.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Our next person is Miss Lisa Smith.
Oh, I didn't want to talk. I checked it out.
Oh, okay, but you are opposed to...
I'm opposed, and I'll hold my comments to the next meeting.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Mr. Jason Smith?
I'll hold my comments for the next meeting as well, please.
Okay.
Make sure and fill out another card for the next one.
Mr. Treadler, do you wish to speak again to this?
No, I'm good.
Okay. And Mr. Stefanik and Ms. Stefanik, do you wish to speak to this one?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, please come forward. Need to state your name and address again.
Do that all the time for you. Okay, Mike Stefanik, 7514 East Oasis Circle, Mesa, Arizona. Okay. Anyway, while we realize that this project has been approved in 2008, okay, the collector system, the internal collector system here has been approved. Apparently, the notifications and the public meetings or whatever was done back in 2007, 2008 was not adequate and did not notify enough residents. They didn't know what was going on. All right? Obviously, something like that happened. Now, I realize today we're here speaking about the little green drainage part, okay? Private collector to public collector, landscaping, okay? The real issue is we're not talking about landscaping here. What we're all concerned about is the internal collector road system. All right? That's really what the crux of the whole issue is. We don't care how they landscape the dumb thing. We care about the collector system, how it impacts our general vicinity, the Lascendis community, and our children, all right, and our residents. That's what we're concerned about. Now, there's very few people that have any knowledge of this, that this has been approved. You heard this multiple times. Now, I realize that this is you said this is an applicant-driven change. My question to the council, to the city is, can there be a citizen's proposed change? Applicant to change the application or what was currently going. Is there a way that we can change right now this improved
not unless you own the property or have the owner's
can we have, what can we do as citizens to say, hey, we're not in agreement with this? It was approved. Yes, it's approved. We got it. It's approved. We've heard that 1,000 times today. What we are asking is that is there a way for us as citizens to say we don't agree with this? We're not going to agree with it. And so, therefore, we want to change. We are taxpayers of the city. And so we want to, and we live in a prestigious community with a lot of people. There's a high level. This has only begun. So we're interested in finding out from you folks here, is there a way that we can change this internal collector road system? There has to be a way.
The only way is to work through the applicant and the city. Applicant and the owner, I should say. It's the only way. Mm-hmm. We can only deal, this board is an advisory board to the city council. Mm-hmm. We don't make policy. We only give recommendations. City council is the place to really voice a lot of your concerns, and I would hope that each one of you would show up at the subsequent city council meetings on these, because whether this is denied, approved, continued, well, not continued, but approved or denied, it still goes to city council.
Sure.
So I would hope that you would do that.
Mr. Carter.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to have to stop right there and correct.
Am I wrong in that?
On this particular item, as a site plan modification, this board is making the decision.
Excuse me, you
unless somebody appeals it to the city council, which any citizen could do.
So any citizen can appeal to the city council?
These decisions made tonight, if the board approves or denies.
That's a great piece of information.
Items,
thank you.
Those can be appealed to the city council.
Okay. And so there is a process in place?
Right. But that would be, again, the specific decision that they make tonight and not the whole previously approved plan.
So make sure I'm clear in my understanding is that we as citizens can appeal the decision that was made in 2008 for this internal collector road system?
I'm talking about The decision tonight.
Oh, the green piece.
Right.
What about the other piece?
That's too.
We don't care about the green piece.
It is cast in law at this point.
Okay.
Right. The statutes for allowing that appeal are passed.
Okay, so they can build it as is right now.
That is correct.
And so we as citizens who were not involved in any of this process, didn't have any idea what was going on, have no say-so, in other words.
That is correct.
Mr. Chairman, again, I'll jump in for just a minute. In 2007 and 2008, during the 6 to 9 months that we went through that process, there was extensive neighborhood participation in that process. The HOA was involved. The neighborhoods around there were involved. There was a lot of citizen involvement.
Any idea what the percentage of people were? Maybe 5 people show up, 1,000 people show
we
up?
had I remember this, because
Yeah.
I was on the board at that point.
Yeah.
We had a full to overflowing capacity crowd.
Okay.
And it was very well voiced. We had several continuances, as I recall, on it. There were multiple meetings on the citizens level with the applicants.
Sure.
This is not something that was done in the dark or in a closet.
Right.
It was very, very controversial back then.
It's even more so today.
Well, yes, but out of all that controversy, what you see up there on the upper screen is what was approved. The homeowners, everybody came together, went to city council. I don't believe the vote was unanimous at city council level, I believe, which means they got most of the issues all taken care of at that point. I may be wrong on that, but I believe it was. And so right now, they could go, any developer, if they bought that piece of land, or if they own it now, could come in there and build all of those multifamily residences in there, all the commercial. I don't remember the office height that they could go, but it was fairly high, as I remember.
Chairman Carter, the maximum height was 65 feet for the offices.
Okay, 65 feet. They had parking garages, et cetera.
Oh, I apologize. I misspoke. 96. I was thinking of the development agreement.
All right.
So in reality, it's a moot point. So in reality, at this point, we're just talking about some landscaping issue in reality.
On this meeting, on this parcel, at this time, that's all we're talking about.
Okay.
The other pieces are coming down the road. Housing, I believe, will be heard next month.
Right.
The other commercial pieces will be following whenever after that.
Okay. Now, as far as the actual meeting for next month, are they going to be reposting out in front? Okay. On the property? Okay.
I would also say that one of the best places for citizen participation is in these neighborhood meetings.
Yes.
And if you can get on Mr. Anderson's mailing list, so you for sure get that and not have to wait for your HOA. That's a very good place to go and have input and be with the applicant. That's been my experience as far as citizens.
Having sat in many of those citizens' meetings, it's appalling how many citizens do not show up, even after being duly notified.
No, I completely understand. But the issue is that it doesn't seem like a lot of people paid attention. You know, if you have something buried down at the very end of an email, okay, you get junk mail. I get junk mail all the time, only to find out, oops, I should have read that, I guess. Okay?
Well, it sounds like an issue for your homeowners
So to me, that's
association.
not proper notification, okay? Anybody with any would say, no, that's not
Well,
correct.
like Mr. Anderson said, those within 1,000 feet, 300 is state requirement.
Right.
That was enlarged to 1,000 lineal feet. All those people in those residences, and as he said, those kind of attached to it, were all notified by mail.
Right.
After that, it belongs to the homeowners association to notify the rest of the residences.
Right.
So if they were not notifying you correctly, that's the place to start.
Right, absolutely. Okay, no, I agree with that. I see that. Now, while I am glad to hear that this will be part of the HOA. Once we go into next month, I have a whole series of questions on how this is going to be approached and incorporated into the community of Las Endas. We have a real concern about that. So that'll be next month. But my comments are noted now, I guess.
Yes, you're on the public record. City Council will be reading all of the comments that have happened tonight.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's excellent. Good. So
when you come next month, fill out another card, and by then you will have had a neighborhood meeting. Maybe if there's any miscommunication or misunderstandings, those will be cleared up, and then we can get down to the nuts and bolts on the merits of the case.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so in reality, there's really nothing we can do about the blue section there, where those entrances, exits are set.
No, it is set in law right now. All we're talking about is changing the medians from landscaping to pavers.
But I'm going to get on the record is that law can be changed based upon citizen action, correct?
No, not the things that have been already approved by City Council and are law. The stuff we're talking about today, next month, whatever, there are different abilities in which you could talk to staff about after this meeting's over, of which you can do appeals, which causes a certain percentage of vote through City Council, or it will not pass. I don't remember what the percentage is. It's like, do you remember, Beth, from your time? I don't remember, but it's a significant number.
I'll get with John after this, so I don't want to waste anybody's time. And
Mr. Puffer, are you involved in this at all, or have you?
I'm an interested bystander. We let the
Okay.
Homeowners Association speak for the residents of Los Angeles.
Yes, okay.
Mr. DeBella, I believe you have a
Mr.
comment?
Stefanik, I'm curious, were you a resident back then?
No, I was not.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you for your comments. Now, we're back to, I think we went over.
Ms. Stefanik.
Ms. Stefanik,
Oh, I just had a question for Mr.
please come to the podium. Unless you would like to deal with Mr. Anderson separately in a.
Can I take him out in the alley and beat him up?
Could.
Take your chances. No, I just had a question for Mr. Anderson.
Please stand to the mic so we'll pick up.
Yeah, so my husband wasn't able to be at the neighborhood meeting at the school, but I was there, and I came in a little bit late, so I didn't get to hear everything he said, but I was there for a part where he said that the townhomes he's proposing are 3 stories high, and that didn't meet the guidelines of our Lascendis Architectural Review Committee standards.
Okay.
And so he said that they just wouldn't be part of the HOA then. But he testified earlier today that they were going to be part. So I wanted clarification on if they are or if they aren't.
All right, let's have Mr. Anderson.
We're not even hearing that.
Oh, that's right, we're not. That would be better to deal with after the meeting is over with Mr. Anderson.
Or next month's.
You can take him outside and do whatever.
And then also because there seems to be a problem with the notices. There seems to be a problem with the notices coming to all the people because it said 1,000 feet, but I'm pretty sure that all of my community is within 1,000 feet in Silverhawk, and a bunch of my neighbors didn't get anything in the mail. So I just want to reiterate that that all needs to be on the legit.
There is a citizens participation report that's filed with the staff at the time when the applicant puts all the information together for their final application.
Okay.
And it has a map on there showing the 1,000-foot radius and the homeowners that are attached. It is actually through the Maricopa County GIS map.
Okay.
So it's based on legal ownership. If you are a renter, you may not have gotten notification.
Yeah.
It goes to the property owners.
We have a lot of renters in Silverhawk, so that could be why.
That could be a problem.
And then also, there's a park in between that, Red Mountain, and across the street is a big park, like it's huge. And so the people on the other side of it might not be notified.
That is correct.
Because there's no houses right there.
Except through the HOA.
So there's only a
Am I
couple
correct?
people out of like 3,000 residences that are even hearing about it.
Yeah.
I think that would be a very good issue to speak to the board of the homeowners association
Yeah.
as to why you're not getting notified in a timely manner.
Yeah.
And the way they handle the notification on the subject line, so that you guys can know something's important.
Exactly, yeah, because that's not your responsibility.
No, but we all live in homes. We all understand exactly what you go through because we do this too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate all your hard work.
We really appreciate everyone's comments, and we do hope that you show up next month for the continuing saga of this particular.
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson will be so delighted to hear from everybody. Do you have anything you would like to say, Mr. Anderson?
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity just to share a few final thoughts. Unless you heard differently, but I did not. I didn't hear anything substantive to the site plan modification request tonight. If you did, please bring that to my attention. I have a suggestion for us, which is if the residents here in attendance and you and the staff are willing, would you make photocopies of the blue comment cards? That way I've got the whole thing. Mr. Sanks can send them to me, and I'll make sure we add them to our notification list, both for neighborhood meetings and for our P&Z meeting notices. Our citizen participation report is on file. We believe it's complete. We have no incentive to cut corners on those. We, in addition to the required list, we add everyone who signed in at our neighborhood meetings to our P&Z notice letters. And those are all turned in for the staff to review. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have about this case specifically or issues in general about the overall Parcel 51 project. Please let me know if you do. Thank you for the time. We urge your support. We've read the staff conditions, including the modified stipulation number 3. There is no stipulation number 5, just to clarify that. And with that, we urge your support. Thank you.
Any board members have anything to ask Mr. Anderson?
So we have no new stipulation?
There is no, to my understanding, there's no stipulation number 5, just a modified 3.
Okay, okay.
Right. Anything you'd like to, last words?
And thank you, Chairman Carter and board members. Just to kind of wrap up or summarize where staff is with the request, we did want to reiterate that we did review this request carefully to ensure that we're maintaining the quality of the original approval while relocating the drainage channel and looking at the cross-section of the collector to ensure that it maintains the high quality expected for the desert uplands as well as Las Sendas overall. In regards to condition number 5 that's been stricken, the development agreement specifically has a provision to allow site plan amendments to proceed in their normal course without revising the development agreement. That said, staff is recommending approval of the request in regards to the drainage channel in the Collector Street section with the conditions noted. There is the one revision to condition number 3 to add the engineering department just prior to transportation and planning. That said, thank you.
All right. Any comments from the board on this project? All right, then I'll entertain a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make
sir.
a motion to approve Z13-09, approval with conditions as modified stipulation number 3, adding the word engineering prior to transportation in the language.
All right, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Board members, please cast your vote. Passes unanimously. All right, thank you very much. Thank you all for your participation.
Thank you.
And this board stands adjourned.